Hello, my creatures of night. Last time, you followed a man up his path on a mountain, mysteriously going until he met a creature. Beyond the sound of drums, beyond the mysterious feeling of being watched, it knew he was there. Let's see what will happen next. My back goes straight, and each hair stands up straight. I freeze mid-step, foot dangling in the air. I wait for it to snap my neck or rip into my flesh, but it doesn't. It just keeps the freezing appendage in the nape of my back. I don't want to turn. I don't want to know what new horror this mountain has sent to halt my progress. And I don't want to look away from him. After a few motionless moments, the terror subsides enough for me to turn, ever so slowly, to face my assailant. As I turn my back away from its dead cold touch, it does not move to resist. It lets me pry my loose jacket from its clutches. I turn my legs and torso first, keeping my gaze averted. But eventually, there is nothing else to turn. I have to look. I turn my head slowly, glancing at it in my peripheral vision first. It is dark. It has tendrils outstretched around it like branches. I turn my head fully towards it and look. Before me stands a lone, skinny, leafless tree. It is the only tree in the clearing. I don't know how I had missed it before. Relief floods my body before I realized I had stopped watching him. I turn my back to face him, and there he is, still stationary at the edge of the clearing. I take a few steps around the tree and continue backwards, this time outstretching my hands so I could feel when I reached the tree line. The moment I feel pine needles brush against my fingertips, I caution a glance at my forest. I needed to find a path. The snow obscures the foot trail, so I look instead for a gap in the trees that seems promising. I find one a few yards away and return my attention to him before I begin making my way towards it. He hasn't moved by the time I reach the gap. I take a quick look behind me. The gap continues a ways into the forest before bending out of sight on its way up to the summit. This must be the trail. I look back to him before continuing. Only when I return my gaze to his post in the other end of the clearing, he is nowhere to be seen. I frantically search the tree line for his outline, but see nothing but branches being puppeteered by the wind. I panically drive my legs up the trail. Each step brings new stiffness and pain. After a few minutes, I break free of the tree line, and the sound of drums, once a whisper on the wind, are now in full force, pounding my skull. I can see the summit there above me. It can't be more than 10 minutes walk away. But I'm not walking. I'm running for my life. I move my legs as fast as I'll go up the sharp incline. The summit reaches itself above me. beckoning me. The drums, they grow louder and louder as I approach the peak, drilling into my mind and empowering me with new strength. I move my leg for another step up, but find that it lands on level ground. I made it. I hadn't noticed, but the drums have stopped, freeing my mind from their vice-like grip. Before me is a large round plateau. I heard stories, but had never been to summit before myself. I suddenly understand why so many hikers and climbers had risked their lives to see this. As it turns out, the stories are true. Or at least the ones about the ice. I didn't see any snow. I always imagined it as one of the mesas I had once seen in a documentary about Native Americans in New Mexico. Only mesas are completely flat. The ground here is flat, but from it rise tall pillars of ice. There are dozens of pillars of varying heights that point skyward, like frozen fingers reaching for the heat of the sun. Their surfaces are murky. It plays tricks on the mind, making it seem as if shape stands within the ice. I walk up to one to dispel my delusions, but find I can't. It looks like something is frozen into the ice, but I can't make out what. I lean in closer to inspect and notice something odd. The pillar is covered in little holes about the thickness of a pencil. I run my hand across the ice and feel the multitude of holes like worms writhing under my touch. I take a few steps into the field of ice columns. I don't understand them, but they're beautiful, reflecting the dim moonlight between themselves, bathing the entire peak in a cold, dim glow. It takes me a few moments to notice her. In the middle of the plateau stands a woman. She wears no clothing to protect against the cold, and her white skin shines in the light of the pillars. Her black hair cascades down her shoulders. Her curves are tight and rigid, and her eyes are cold. She is looking at me. I don't know what to say. I'm caught in her stare. Laid bare in front of her, there are no words I can say to make right my intrusion into this place. She raises a hand, and I feel drawn towards her. My legs move on their own to comply. As I move towards her, stopping involuntarily a few yards away. I am Ikuutayuq, she says. Her voice is like nothing I had ever heard. It's like wind howling through the trees, like a gentle first snowfall, and the crack of ice at first spring. It is beautiful and terrifying. She's waiting for a response. I know it, but I have no response to give. I feel frost in my lungs. I couldn't make words if I tried. After an eternity, she speaks again. Come, you are cold. She motions in front of her. At her feet is a small pool. I had overlooked before. Steam rises from the pool. It's a hot spring. She's inviting me to warm up at the hot spring. I feel my body move forward, closing the gap between me and the pool. As I approach, I get a better look at Ikuutayuq. Her face is hard and cold, yet stunning, like a glacier. Her skin is pure white and seems to glow the same hue as the pillars. Her hair, however, does not glow. It is a deep black. It seems to suck the light away from the air around her. I can't make out individual strands. It just exists as a unity of darkness, cascading down her luminescent body. She looks me in the eye, and my whole body shivers. I find my legs have stopped moving, and the tips of my boots lie at the edge of the pool. A wall of steam separates me and the woman, as her gaze chills me. She doesn't need to say anything. I know what I have to do. I remove my clothing as fast as my stiff fingers will allow. My blue toes crack as I peel away the sock, but they're all miraculously still attached to my foot. Once I have stripped off the last piece of clothing, I look back to the woman. She motions to the water before her. It's time to get in. I lean forward, ready for the warm embrace of water, but I pull back. Something is not right. As I lean forward over the pool, ready to submerge myself, I am hit by something colder than I have ever experienced. A cosmic cold that chilled me to the core of my being. This is not an earthly cold. This cold is timeless and constant. This cold never leaves. This cold did not nibble at your ears and is common on a cold day. This cold swallows you whole. Anywhere the steam had touched. My face was frozen solid. I reached up to touch it, and the flesh on my fingers stuck to the ice that had once been my left cheek. I looked up to the woman in horror. Her expression has not changed. She motions again towards the pool. My body moves to comply. My face leans back in towards the steam. I'm ready to tip forward and submerge my whole body. I feel my whole body move, and I act fast. I use every last ounce of energy I possess and lean my body hard to the right, landing face first on the ice away from the pool. I feel a piece of my finger chip off my face with the impact, but I don't have time to think about that. I need to run. I need to flee. I need to find my way back down the mountain. I feel him before I see him, as I inch my way across the ground back towards the trail ahead. I feel his presence on the other side, approaching. The top of his head breaks over the edge, followed by the rest of his face. He holds the same cold, hard expression as before. The same one held by the woman. The next step reveals his upper torso. Its cold, hard edges outlined by the glow of the pillars. few more steps, and he is fully at the summit. He makes a beeline straight for me. I try to worm my way across the ice away from him, but it's no use. My energy is depleted. He reaches me in an instant and grabs me around the waist. His hands burn. I squirm free, but I can't. It's as if his fingers are frozen in place. He carries me effortlessly back to the pool. The woman still stands there. She motions to the pool, and the little man lifts me above his head. He dips me towards the pool, head first. I try to pull out my hands to stop my descent, but I can't as they are still frozen to my face. I can only watch as the water approaches my face. The steam burns my whole body, but I can still see. I can still see even as the water rises inches before my face. I can still see when he pushes me under the surface. What I see cannot be described. It is cold and lifeless. It is an expanse of cold that can't be measured, cannot be understood. It is so cold, so dark, so deep, so endless, that I know this is it. This is the rest of my life. I'll be forever frozen, scared, and alone. I cannot tell you how long I am submerged, but I can tell you the moment I am removed. The cold still pervades every aspect of my being, but my sight has returned. I can see the woman, but she looks different, murky. I try to turn my head to see the man, but I find I cannot. My neck is frozen stiff. I cannot move my eyes either. I cannot move anything. I'm frozen solid, but I'm moving. My vision is moving. Everything is upside down, and then I'm looking at the ground above. I move closer to the ground. Everything's rhythmically. And then I catch something out of the corner of my eye. The man's foot. He is still carrying me, but I cannot feel his icy grip. My vision returns right side up as he places me on my feet. Only he doesn't. My feet aren't touching the ground. Or at least I can't feel them touching the ground. I can't feel anything. All I feel is cold. All I see is a small patch of the plateau. A few pillars and the trail ahead far out of reach. The man enters my vision. He is holding something I can't quite make out. Then suddenly, the woman is there too. The two stand for a moment, looking at me with their... What a harrowing experience that was. To feel nothing but cold, but never die. To understand what this man felt must have been agony. Sitting there in a block of ice. Hopefully, next time, we find a great story again. This story was written by Sebastian, and I hope you never meet the Ikuutayuq. Good night, everyone.